this semester is Biochemistry from Islamic Perspective. Okay, so first of all, let us revise a bit what is actually biochemistry. So biochemistry is the study of the biological chemistry, all of the chemical processes that occur inside living organisms. So by understanding these chemical processes inside the living organism, we can understand how biological molecules can give rise to the processes that occur within living cells. So we can understand the whole of the organism. So throughout these 14 weeks of biochemistry, you are you mainly learn about the chemical processes that occur inside a cell. I mean, one single cell. And actually, the latter topics are more like applied biochemistry or functional biochemistry. But the earlier parts, I mean, all those pathways that you learn, all those pathways occur in a single cell. So there is definition for biochemistry. So biochemistry is the subject that closely related with molecular biology. So if you notice in functional biochemistry, we also integrated topics about the genetics or molecular biology. So you learn about the dogma of the genetic information, which is transcription followed by translation, okay, which is the process of protein synthesis. So basically, the molecular biology is the molecular mechanisms by which genetic information encoded in DNA is able to result in the processes of life. Okay, so for some scientists, they think that molecular biology has a branch of biochemistry. Okay, so you have biochemistry. So under that is the field of molecular biology. Or for some scientists, they think that biochemistry has a tool with which to investigate and study molecular biology. So there's also that kind of thought, but it is very much closely related with molecular biology. Okay, because molecular biology also the study about the chemical processes that occur inside an organism, but it mainly focuses on the DNA, genetic materials, those kind of things. So biochemistry mainly deals with the structures, with the functions, and also the interactions of the biological macromolecules. And these macromolecules that you learn in biochemistry focuses mainly on the carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and then nucleic acid. So these macromolecules, they provide the structure of cells and perform many of the functions that are associated with life. So in biochemistry or the chemistry of the cells, it also depends on the reactions of smaller molecules and ions, as you all learn. Okay, so these molecules and ions can be inorganic, such as the water and also the metal ions, and or it can be organic. For example, the amino acids, the protein, okay, the carbohydrate, or for example here the amino acids which are used to synthesize the proteins. So I mean, biochemistry is such an important basic or foundation knowledge in science. Okay, so the findings of biochemistry are applied in many fields, such as the field of medicine, the field of nutrition, and also the field of agriculture. For example, in medicine, the biochemists, they investigate the causes and also the cures of diseases. In nutrition science, they they use the knowledge of biochemistry to study how to maintain health and also to study the effects of nutritional deficiency. In agriculture, the knowledge in biochemistry is used to investigate the soils and fertilizers and also to try to discover ways to improve the crop cultivation and also crop storage and also the pest control. for history, I think no need for me to go to the history. Okay. So these are listed here are some of the advancement of the technology in biochemistry. So these are the developed technique based on the knowledge of biochemistry. The methods in chromatography, the X-ray diffraction, the dual polarization, interferometry, and so on. Okay, so uh, these are the technology and the knowledge in biochemistry also led to the discovery and also detailed analysis of many molecules and metabolic pathways of the cells, okay, such as the glycolysis that you learned and also the Krebs cycles and many other pathways. Okay, so how do we relate this, the knowledge in biochemistry from the Islamic perspective? Okay, so I mean, uh, first disclaimer first. Okay, so it is really not in my background really to talk about uh, Islamic perspective. Okay, but I have some knowledge in biochemistry, but I mean not so much perhaps from the Islamic perspective. But I tried my best. I mean, nobody's perfect, right? But anyway, uh, first thing that I would like to highlight is that Allah created everything purposely or with purpose. Means that uh, all of God's creation are created not randomly or by chance. Okay, because the non-believer, okay, they have the contradictory belief that everything just happened by random or by chance. Okay, so I mean, the knowledge in biochemistry actually teaches us this. Okay, everything is created with purpose. Okay, so this we can see from the metabolic pathways. Okay, because metabolic pathways they occur with purpose. Okay, glycolysis, the purpose is to generate ATPs. Okay, and also the reduce the reducing equivalent NADH, for example. And it is step-by-step enzymatic reactions. Okay, it starts from step 1 and ended with the step number 10. Okay, it occur, I mean, it not by random. It must be a step-by-step process and with purpose. And more importantly, what you learn from the metabolic pathways, they are regulated. Okay, meaning that they can be stimulated, they can be inhibited. Okay, so this ensure that our body can maintain the homeostasis. Okay, typo here, homeostasis, and also energy balance. So this what we can reflect from all those metabolic pathways that we learn in biochemistry, that nothing is random or nothing is by chance in metabolism. Otherwise, everything will be haywire. I mean, probably there won't be ATP generated, or if ATP is generated, it is if it's not regulated, it will be a waste of effort. For example, ATP is generated, but at the same time, it is used, but um, it is broken down, okay, without the capture of the energy, for example. So that's the first thing that I would like to highlight. The second thing is that biochemistry teaches the al-wasitiyah concept as in Islamic epistemology. What is wasatiyah? I'm sure many of you understand the meaning of wasatiyah. So it is an Arabic term originating from the word wasat. So this term was taken and elaborated from the word ummatan wasatan, the moderate people, which is found in the exhortation of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah said, "Thus have we made of you an ummah justly balanced, and ye might be witnesses over the nations, and the messenger a witness over yourself. And we appointed the Qibla to which to was used only to test those who followed the messenger, from those who would turn on their heels, which is from the faith. Indeed, it was a change momentous, except to those guided by Allah, and never will Allah make your faith of no effect. For Allah is to all people most surely full of kindness, most merciful. Okay, so that's a mouthful. But anyway, there are numerous interpretations, okay, by the religious scholar regarding the meaning of the wasata. So I choose one of the definition from the Al-Qurtubi. Okay, so based on this, wasatiyah means fair and the best. Okay, so in this context, wasatiyah does not mean taking a central or middle position in a matter. So it does not mean taking a central or middle position in a matter. Okay, such as a position between between good and bad. Okay, so it means fair and the best. Fair doesn't mean things in the middle. So this one very much related with homeostasis, right? Okay, so homeostasis is, I mean, fair and the best for the body. Okay, so we can relate that with wasatiyah with homeostasis, and we can relate wasatiyah with enzyme regulation. Okay, so enzyme regulation, for example, certain amount is required. So this particular amount doesn't mean that it is the value which is in the middle, but it is actually the value which is the best for the body. So furthermore, the knowledge in biochemistry support the Islamic teaching, such as fasting. Okay, so fasting in Islam, there are many, shall I say, many type of fasting. So we have the Ramadan fasting, which is the compulsory fasting for 1 month, and then we have sunnah. Okay, so for example, fasting during weekly fasting of Monday and also Thursday. So what is the way to fast in Islam? In Malaysia, it is about 8 hours, right? So I mean, early in the morning, I mean, the methods of fasting, early in the morning, we have to wake up first, okay, to eat the sahur first, okay, followed by fasting. And after the sunset, we can start eating. But still, there's, how to say, there's the best way on how to eat, how to break the fast, okay. We have to I mean, it is recommended to break the fast with eating foods that are sweet, okay, but and also to take that the amount in just a small amount, okay, and then after prayer, only then, okay, to eat in a larger amount. I mean, in Islam for fasting, um, it is how to say, fasting is something which is uh, compulsory and also sunnah, and the way we do fast also, there's a method on doing that. Okay, so uh, the way to fast in Islam give lots of benefits to the health of the body. So how do we support this, okay, from the science perspective? Okay, so you learn in biochemistry that Islamic fasting actually does not interrupt the normal body function. Okay, because Islamic fasting is only fasting for 8 hours. So this is in contrast with, because other culture or other religion also encourage their uh, apa encourage their followers to do fasting. Okay, but they fast for more than 8 hours. Okay, for some culture, if I'm not mistaken, they fast for many days, okay, but allowed to drink but no food at all for many days. Okay, so this is totally different from Islamic fasting. So Islamic fasting does not interrupt the normal body function. In fact, it will promote a healthier body. For example, utilization of lipid in order to keep the normal blood glucose. So what happened during fasting? In order to maintain the normal blood glucose during the 8 hours of fasting, in order to maintain the normal blood glucose, first our body will start utilizing the glycogen storage, followed by the utilization of the lipid storage. Okay, so this the utilization of the lipid storage enable us, okay, to keep a leaner body. Okay, so because the fasting is only for 8 hours, the body do not have to go to the extreme as to utilizes the protein or the protein which make the body, our body structure. Okay, so basically fasting, Islamic fasting does not interrupt the normal body function or structure. So we mainly utilizes glycogen and also utilizes lipid storage in order to keep the normal blood glucose level. Even in pregnancy also, fasting is not harmful. Okay, there are some scientific study, as I mentioned to you in previous lecture about calorie restriction, that show that fasting can increase the immune system that lead to delay in aging. Okay, so I would like to show you a video. Is it video? Oh, no video. Not video. Okay, no video. Okay, so furthermore, what are further lessons from Islamic perspective, I mean, with regard to biochemistry? So what I gather is the essence of God, the awesomeness in God. How to say? The essence of awesomeness in God's creation. Okay, I think that's one of the big lesson that we can take from learning biochemistry. Okay, so God created everything with purpose and greatness, and everything follows certain rules and laws, as I elaborate just now. So this is as opposed to the belief of the non-believers. So in the Quran, Allah said, "Verily in the heavens and the earth are signs for those who believe, and in the creation of yourselves and the fact that animals are scattered throughout the earth are signs for those who faith, and in the alternation of night and day, and that fact that Allah sends down sustenance from the sky and revives therewith the earth after its death, and in the change of the winds are signs for those who are wise." So in this ayah, uh, Allah, I mean, Allah focuses on something that everybody can see. Okay, the night and the day. Okay, the sustenance that are sent from the sky, those kind of things that everyone can see. Okay, but we learn biochemistry that not everyone can see. I mean, the knowledge of biochemistry, I mean, you cannot even see that using even the microscope, because those knowledge of biochemistry are those that happening inside one single cell. I mean, you can view the single cell using the microscope, okay, but you cannot view, okay, the macromolecules. I mean, the carbohydrates, the protein, and also the lipid, even using the microscope. I mean, you have to have the special techniques. Okay, so furthermore, Allah said, "The heavens and the earth were joined together as one unit before we clove them asunder." Following this big explosion, Allah turned to the sky and it had been as smoke. He said to it and to the earth, "Come together willingly or unwillingly." They said, "We come together in willing obedience." So thus the elements and what was to become the planets and stars began to cool, come together and form into shape, following the natural laws that Allah established in the universe. Okay, so this was also specifically referring to the creation of the universe. Okay, but the universe is big. Okay, so I would like us to focus on the one single source. And in this one single cell that you learn in biochemistry, there are so many things that are going on. It's just, it's just has majestic. The universe is majestic, but in one single source that we cannot even see with our naked eye, things that happening are also majestic. So in addition, the Quran further states that Allah created the sun, the moon, and the planets, each with their own individual courses or orbits. It is He who created the night and the day and the sun and the moon. All the celestial bodies swim along, each in its rounded course. So these are further stressed in the following verse. Our Lord, you did not create this aimlessly. Exalted are you above such a thing, then protect us from the punishment of the fire. So many of the above verses are related directly with the creation of the universe. But in biochemistry, God's creation beyond what can be seen by the naked eyes also displayed similar greatness. Okay, so that's my point. So for Muslim, so is it important for us to learn biochemistry? So this would be my next point. So first I would like to show you this video of a shirt.
Hi guys, it's Robert. So today we're going to get our hands dirty with a clever gardening DIY. I want to show you how you can take scraps and peels from the fruits and vegetables you eat every day to create an amazing container garden. And if you like this project and want to see more, I invite you to subscribe to my own channel by following the link in the video description below. Now we all know that you can grow plants from seeds. You place the seed in soil, you water it, it germinates, sprouts, and grows into its own plant. But not everyone is aware that you can also propagate plants through clippings. You see this often with herbs. If you were to take a clipping of basil or cilantro, place it in water, within a week it would begin to grow new roots and eventually could be transplanted into soil. Now, I've been playing around with this method for a couple of months, and I want to show you some of the fruits and vegetables I've had the most success with. Now, I love a good salad, and I especially love butter lettuce. When I'm preparing it, if I cut it about an inch, inch and a half above the core base, I can then place that into a shallow dish of water. Within about a week, it begins to grow new roots, and within 2 weeks, it begins to sprout new leaves. Eventually then, I can place it into soil where it matures into a completely new head of lettuce. Now, I've also had success with certain root vegetables. By trimming off the end of a radish and placing it in water, or the end of an onion and placing that in water, they both have the same effect. After about a week, they grow new roots and eventually can be transplanted into soil. Now, there's another gardening technique known as grafting. And you often see this with people who grow fruit trees. You can take the limb from one tree, graft it onto the trunk of another, and end up with a tree with both lemons and limes, or apples and pears, but there's a much simpler home method you can do with fruit scraps. Now, when you peel a banana and get down to the end, we all know there's that black little nub at the bottom that no one wants to eat. That's actually the seed of the fruit. So if you have a banana that's been sitting around for a little bit too long, you can trim off that end and combine it with another fruit. I've had particular success with kiwi. If you trim off the end of a kiwi, you see it's got that beautiful green flesh with the seeds all throughout it. If you take that piece of banana and the piece of kiwi, put them flesh sides together, you can then put it in a pot of soil, cover it by about an inch, and water it. It takes about a week for the healing process to occur, but then they begin to grow as one fruit. After about 2 weeks, it begins to sprout up above the surface of the dirt, growing just like a root vegetable. And then after about 3 weeks' time, it matures into a full fruit. When you harvest it then, you see it's got that protective peel of a banana, but when you cut into it, it's got the beautiful green flesh of the kiwi. The taste is a delicate balance of the two. It's wonderful sliced and placed on fruit salad, or even eaten on its own. This is an amazing way for you to combine all of those scraps and peels that you might otherwise throw away and grow a completely new garden. I do hope you'll give this project a try. Experiment with the clippings of fruits and vegetables you use every day to see what kind of plant hybrids you can create. Thank you so much for watching. I want to wish you a very happy April Fool's Day, and join me next time for an actual DIY.
It's okay. So I'm going to show you next video.
What is Charles Darwin's theory of evolution? Let us not get controversial, but simply stick to the facts about Charles Darwin and his theory of evolution. An English naturalist, Mr. Darwin definitely gave us all a lot to think about. Darwin's theory of evolution actually contains two major ideas. The first idea posed by Mr. Darwin theorized the idea that evolution occurs. In other words, organisms change over time, and life on Earth has changed as descendants diverged from common ancestors in the past. The second idea from Mr. Darwin is that evolution occurs by natural selection. Natural selection is the process in which living things with beneficial traits produce more offspring than others. This results in changes in the traits of living things over time. In Charles Darwin's day, the early 1800s, most people believed that all species were created at the same time and remained unchanged thereafter. They also believed that the Earth was merely 6,000 years old. Darwin's ideas revolutionized biology as we know it. How did Mr. Darwin come up with these important ideas? It all started when he went on a voyage. In 1831, when Darwin was just 22 years old, he set sail on a scientific expedition on a ship called the HMS Beagle. He was the naturalist on the voyage. As a naturalist, it was his job to observe and collect specimens of plants, animals, rocks, and fossils wherever the expedition went ashore. Darwin was fascinated by this nature, and his job on the Beagle was the most important time of his life. He spent over 3 years of the 5-year trip exploring nature on distant continents and islands. While he was away, a former teacher published Darwin's accounts of his observations. By the time Darwin finally returned to England, he had become famous as a naturalist. During the long voyage, Charles Darwin made many observations that helped him form his theory of evolution. Some of what he found included tropical rainforests and other new habitats where he saw many plants and animals he had never seen before. An earthquake that lifted the ocean floor 9 feet, 2.7 meters, above sea level. He also found rocks containing fossil seashells in mountains far above sea level. These observations suggested that continents and oceans had changed dramatically over time and continue to change dramatically. Rock ledges that had clearly once been beaches that had gradually built up over time. This suggested that slow, steady process also changed the surface of the Earth. Fossils of gigantic extinct mammals, such as the ground sloth. This was hard evidence that organisms looked very different in the past, as it suggested that living things, including the Earth's surface, change over time.
So what can you all conclude from those two videos? What is or are the similarities between the two videos? Anyone knows? So Darwin theorized two things, right? The first one is that life on Earth has changed as a descendant diverged from a common ancestors in the past. Okay, so that's one thing. And then evolution occurs by natural selection. Okay, it is the process, okay, by which living things with beneficial trait produce more offspring than the others, and this results in changes in traits of living things over time. Okay, so that's Charles Darwin's theory. So the first video and the second video both are lying. Both contain a big lie. So the first one, because I was unable to show you the full video just now, okay, at the end of the first video, the guy who tried to to mix the kiwi and the banana and grow a plant from them will say something like happy April Fool's Day. I mean, he created the video has an April Fool kind of thing, okay, to make people mad, something like that. So it's a lie, but that kind of lie consider like small lie. Okay, some people might buy it, some people might not buy it. But the Darwin's theory, this is a very, I mean, a big lie. I mean, I don't know, maybe half of the world's population believe in Charles Darwin theory. Okay, so it's a very big lie. So my point is that if we are not a knowledgeable person, we can be easily manipulated and fooled by the other people, especially by the non-believer. Okay, so the knowledge that you learn in 14 weeks of biochemistry perhaps might not be enough, okay, to how to say, to really understand the Darwin's theory. Okay, but if you learn more advanced knowledge in biochemistry, okay, perhaps do some experiment. I don't know, become scientist, do some kind of experiment. Charles Darwin theory, okay, can be proven wrong. Okay, so that would be something like a big dakwah for a Muslim, for example. Okay. So most importantly, uh, regarding just now, I mean the big lie just now, especially the Charles Darwin's theory, I just would like to highlight again that how God created Adam. Okay, so there are several verses that stated, I mean, God created Adam. Okay, I mean the first human on earth. Okay, from clay. Okay, and that's the first thing. Okay, to apa to omit this one. Okay, for Muslim this one is omitted based on that one. And then the second theory by Charles Darwin, which is the evolution occurs by natural selection. There are verses that stated God created everything in diversity, so there is no such thing as natural selection. So that's the benefit of being knowledgeable in science. And biochemistry is not just, I mean, biochemistry is one of the pure science knowledge that we must know so that Muslims will not be fooled. Okay, so by being knowledgeable, we can highlight to the non-believers that knowledge in sciences is actually in line with the Quran and also the Hadith. Okay, this one I'm going to skip also. So I mean, regarding the creation of Adam from clay, okay, it was mentioned in several verses in the Quran. Okay, you can see. So perhaps I mean, for those who are non-believer, I mean, for the non-Muslim, okay, they might have this kind of, they might being skeptical. I mean, clay and human. I mean, two different thing, like completely different thing. There are no similarity at all. But anyway, I googled this, but it seems kind of interesting. I mean, it can be nothing, but basically, there are a type of clay that actually might, might be compatible, okay, with human, with living things, okay, called the Morillonic clay. Okay, so this is a very soft phyllosilicate group of minerals that typically form in microscopic crystals. The montmorillonite, okay, they they form microscopic crystals that eventually form a clay. So there was studies based on my reading. It said that this particular clay has the ability to organize lipid, okay, by how to say, by directing the lipid to cause micelles. You know micelles, right? The lipid spheres in aqueous solution. They will assemble together into a vesicles. So this clay, uh, so this structure, okay, I mean, this micelle, with the help of this montmorillonite clay, okay, they they can resemble the cell membranes on many cells. It can also help this clay can also help nucleotides to assemble into RNA, which will end up inside the vesicle. So it has been demonstrated that this could have generated highly complex RNA polymers that could reproduce the RNA trapped within the vesicles. Okay, so this research was done by the non-Muslim, and somehow they come up with this conclusion, something like this process may have led to the origin of life on Earth. Okay, so this what the non-believer believe, okay, by experimenting on the montmorillonite clay, okay, but we Muslims know better. So for the verses from the Quran that said we created man from an extract of clay. I'm going to have Okay, so I'm going to skip all of this. About the water and also the iron. Okay. Functional biochemistry from our perspective again. So these are the topics that you learn from biochemistry, right? Started with the structure of the cells, okay, cells, okay, followed by the nature of carbohydrates. You learn about the structure of carbohydrate, the protein, the lipid, and also the nucleic acid. Okay, next will be topics on what happened inside a cell. Starts with enzymes, followed by all these different metabolic pathway, and later on you learn things more focus on the systemic. I mean, not really focusing on focusing on one single cell anymore. So it's more like integration and also the application. Okay, so of course, the 14 weeks of functional biochemistry, we are unable to cover all knowledge of biochemistry, but the functional biochemistry gives a small insight into all the complexities that occur inside a single cell. That is just a small part of it. So many things that are going inside the one single cell are unable to be covered in the 14 weeks. So from our perspective, biochemistry show the greatness of our creation. So I would like to show you this video.
The apple of Macintosh dazzled the world. It was invented by Steve Jobs. But who invented the apple we eat? The stethoscope. It was invented by the French physician René Laennec in 1818. But who created the ear in which we hear everything? The calculator was invented by the Frenchman Blaise Pascal in 1639. Who created the human brain, which equals 1 million of advanced calculators working at the same time? The electric light bulb, which we turn to lighten a room. It was invented by Thomas Edison in 1879. So, who created the self-illuminating sun, which radiates the whole world. The plane. It was invented by Wilbur Wright in 1903. But who invented the systems in birds that enable them to fly long distances? He is Allah, the creator of everything. Look for him. You will find him.
Whatever we could imagine, it is insufficient. That God is praised and he is not in need of you and I. Everything he creates does what it's created for. The planets, they orbit. The suns, they burn. The birds, they fly. The fish, they swim. Everything does what it is created to do except man and jinn. They are given free will, choose and refuse. So they will sometimes worship, sometimes not. The word Allah is a challenge. Allah says, I am the God. And to say it this way would mean that all other gods are false. Nothing is worthy of your veneration, your love, my love, our affection, our obedience, our dedication and devotion, except the one true Lord who created you and I. And he is above the heavens and the earth, separate from all that he has created.
This one is a very interesting video that will give you perspective. Okay, so in the Quran, the Prophet has said that Allah is beautiful and He loves beauty. It is for this that the whole of Allah's creation has been designed and created according to the highest heavenly standard of splendor and order impossible to be ever emulated by anyone. So Allah says on this, such is the creation of Allah. Now show me what is there that others besides Him have created. This one from the verse from the Surah Luqman. So such is the artistry of Allah who disposes of all things in perfect order. So again, from our perspective, by learning biochemistry, we learn that biochemistry shows that everything are in order and they do not occur randomly. Okay, even small change, if it's random, it will affect the functions and the whole thing. So biochemistry also shows that everything has its purpose, structurally designed, for example, in such a way to suit its specific purpose. So very simple example, you have the structure of amino acids become polypeptide, and from polypeptide become a protein. Okay, so with regard to this, Allah creation is on purpose. So when describing the creation of the heavens and the earth, the Quran does not discount the theory of a Big Bang explosion at the start of it all. In fact, the Quran says that the heavens and the earth were joined together as one unit before we clove them asunder. So following this big explosion, Allah turned to the sky and it had been as smoke. He said to it and to the earth, come together willingly or unwillingly. He said, we come together in willing obedience. Thus the elements and what was to become the planets and the stars become to cool, come together and form into shape following the natural laws that Allah established in the universe. So for us Muslims, we have no problem in answering these questions, right? The first one, why the world is created and why the world of the universe is created. So why human is such a complex creation, okay? At the very small level, from the cell level to the very complex level. Why so complex? Why not just make things just very simple things? I mean, only things that we can see. I mean, things that we cannot see with our naked eyes. Let's say it's not even exist, okay? But why must God create everything so complex? And of course, this question, why we are here, as Muslim, we have no problems in understanding and answering the question. So basically, that's ended my lecture.